I had already spent at least a handful of hours wondering what it would be like to receive this kind of news. This imagining usually happened as I was curled up next to him while he slept, a mound of comforter, rising and falling like a metronome. I felt I'd first deny it, swear up and down that they had the wrong Mrs. Anderson. It couldn't be him, I'd say. I just saw him this morning. There are a million people with this last name. And then, after I'd accepted my fate, been forced to after identifying a splotchy birthmark on his hip, I would start to plan the funeral. I ran through lists of our friends, deciding who might ask to speak, who would send flowers instead of attending, and who would show up but eventually disappear from my life. The images that would go through my mind were cliched, drawing from the scenes that Mable and I made fun of in movies and television shows. But my imagined reaction was nothing like my real one. Even though I was gutted, sickened, wanted to hurl myself out of the back seat of the moving car or curl myself into something so small it no longer existed, I didn't question the fact of it. 2 words made me so certain. Car accident. Ian had always driven like a maniac. When we first started dating, I'd pretended I found it frightening, gasping whenever he cut across 4 lanes of highway traffic to pull off at an exit, the sounds of car horns following us. But really, I loved it. I thought it made him different from the other lawyers I'd met, whose pleated khakis created unflattering mounds and lumps where they shouldn't be. From the Uber, I called my mother, who picked up after 2.5 rings. "Did you see Caro's invites?" she asked. "I swear they used the exact same vellum we did." "He's dead," I said. The driver caught my eye in the rearview mirror. "What? What did you say?" I repeated myself 3 times, then told her I was already on the way to the hospital. Even though she was in Ohio, I gave her the hospital address too. She started crying and shouting until I said, "I just got here. I have to go now." "I'm sorry," said the driver as I hung up and exited his car. Inside, a main desk receptionist directed me to an elevator in which a man lay under a thick blanket on a gurney, his eyes closed. Next to the gurney stood a doctor in a white coat who was using his thumb to scroll through a social media app on his phone, only slowing down to study pictures of someone's vacation. There were shots of a beach, a man holding a frosted cocktail. A woman with coral red lipstick, a parrot on her arm, was mid-scream when another photo was taken. It was supposed to be a playful picture, but it looked frightening to me. The man on the gurney whimpered, and the doctor glanced down. "Almost there," he said. On the emergency department floor, I spoke to someone behind a desk. She typed his name into her computer, and then looked up briefly at me and back down at her keyboard. She said, "Hold on, let me get someone for you." I realized then that the news of his death might have been hours old when it reached me. He could have been dead when I was eating lunch, picking shrimp tails out of my salad and laying them in a spiral on my napkin. Or this afternoon, when I'd closed my door and pretended to be on a conference call, but really just texted with Mable to make plans. The woman got up from her desk and walked down the hallway. She wore a set of pink scrubs, and on her collar there was a pin of a smiling cartoon bear holding a bunch of multicolor balloons. I saw her speaking to a group of people wearing blue and teal scrubs. When she returned, she said, "It won't be much longer." A man standing with the group of people she had just spoken to came up to me and introduced himself as the doctor who had called me. I said, "You look older than you sound." "Let me take you somewhere quieter," he said. He led me into a small room off of the waiting area, where he had me sit down on a small couch and took a seat opposite me. He explained that my husband had arrived at the hospital after suffering serious injuries from a car accident. He once more listed all the procedures they had done. There was nothing we could do, he kept saying. The entire time he was speaking, I had to stop myself from leaning across the couch and shaking him, even striking him. It seemed appalling that he could say such words to me.